It's Monday, and a new week in crypto is getting underway. Here with all the top stories to get you up to speed, it's the Coin Bureau News. Where to now? As Bitcoin wades in the waters of uncertainty, is it about to ride an almighty wave or headed for a wipeout? The final countdown. The US election is now just hours away, and the stakes could not be higher. Here's what's been happening on Polymarket and why a Trump victory could be bad news for one particular category of cryptos. Battle of the Oracles. Chainlink and Pyth network are duking it out for supremacy in a key crypto niche. Can the current king see off the upstart challenger? USDT unstoppable. As the FUD fades around the world's largest stablecoin, here's why it's going to take more than a few negative headlines to slow this runaway train down. And a look at last week's top performing cryptos, tweets of the week, dates for your diary, your feedback, and much more besides. This is the Coin Bureau News, live. Welcome everyone, it is indeed the Coin Bureau News Live. It is Monday, once again, the start of a momentous week. Boy, is there a lot happening this week. My name is Guy, I am joined as ever by Nick.
My name is Nick, how you guys doing? What's up?
Nick, dare I say it, you're looking rather dapper today.
Yeah, I've constantly been told in the comments that I don't dress formally enough, so I thought I could go dressed either as if I'm hopping off a yacht in Saint-Tropez or if I'm at the Henley Regatta, watching it with your fellow countrymen.
If you pitched up to the Henley Regatta in that outfit, you would be welcomed with open arms.
Would I be welcome to the VIP section?
Yeah,
yes.
They press a glass of Veuve Clicquot into your hands and just wave you on through.
Infiltrated to the posh public boys school club.
Yeah, exactly. Now, do you know the only thing that would improve that outfit is some
pink mantra
socks.
We found the pink mantra socks for Guy.
We finally got them. Zara, the merch finder general, managed to locate some pink mantra socks. You should have accessorized with those.
I should have. I think I have got them somewhere. It would have looked good with the pink as well.
Absolutely perfect.
Okay.
Well, there you are, folks. You asked for Nick to be better dressed, and there you are. I mean, it's fantastic.
What I do for you guys, man.
This is definitely bullish. Okay, so let's get stuck in then. There's a lot to talk about today. As I said, it is a big week coming up. Before we get into all that election stuff, though, let's talk about Bitcoin, because there are two schools of thought here at the moment, it seems. Either we could be headed to the moon or maybe not. So, Nick, can you talk us through some of the reasons why Bitcoin is looking bullish at the moment?
Looking bullish. Okay, firstly, let's start with those spot ETF inflows. Last week was another killer week. We had 2 days over 800 million in total in inflows. One day, the 30th of October, we had BlackRock IBIT inflows of over 800 million for an ETF, and it was 642 the day before. So it's just crazy, the demand coming from retail and institutional investors on the ETF front. Obviously, another bullish factor, exchange balances are decreasing and increasingly decreasing, which obviously therefore means that we've got a situation where supply crunch could be coming if there's less spot Bitcoin balances. Open interest on the futures market is at all-time highs. So that's obviously means that, positions have been taken up. Also on the CME, it's breaking all-time highs. So the CME is increasingly institutional investors getting exposure through the CME futures instruments. And then historically as well, of course, we must not forget, we have had a bullish month for November. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's median 7.1% and the average is 43%. So,
look at November 2030.
449%.
That was around about the time I first heard about crypto.
That may be an outlier, I must admit.
Maybe again.
Yeah. So, and then finally, of course, a gamma squeeze potentially. There's all this talk about the gamma squeeze around options expiries, especially the election options, and then also the release of these ETF options. And Kobe's bullish. He says
Kobe's bullish. Yeah. What does he say there?
BTC above 100K. Doesn't matter who wins. Probably just impacts how quickly it happens and where else we go on the journey.
Okay. Well, I mean, who are we to contradict Kobe? However, there are some reasons to perhaps not be so optimistic around Bitcoin's price. We can't go full moon boy just yet.
We can't go full moon one because there is a lot of uncertainty, particularly around the election. But looking at some data points, volatility index. This is the Deribit volatility index. It's a combination of a lot of options implied volatility. It's at its highest point in 3 months.
Okay.
Right? So Bitcoin options are looking volatile, pricing in a lot of volatility. Then, of course, there's something interesting on the TradFi front as well, and this is the Move index. Now, the Move index is an index of option implied volatility, or swaption implied volatility, so interest rate options on bonds, US Treasuries, and it is up 40% in October and the highest since the beginning of the year. So the bond markets in the US, they've been selling off because they're worried about inflation, all this kind of stuff, and the things we talked about last week.
Yeah,
they are also looking. They've sold off, and as you can see, the Move index, the Bank of America Move index, is at its highest level this year.
right.
And finally, there's funding rates for BTC remain low, which is interesting because it's if we take a look at this is the story in Cointelegraph. So the funding rates are low, which means that people aren't necessarily positioned bullishly in the futures market or not paying a lot in terms of funding rates. And it's also interesting if we look at the historical heat map for and this is all across the altcoin space. That we have back there in February, March. Like, that heat map, look at those funding rates on the altcoin space compared to now. It's cool. So basically, things could go very fast, very quickly after this election. Who knows? But yeah, basically, a lot of factors are showing it's uncertainty in the markets.
Okay. And obviously that uncertainty around the election result, like not only the result, I guess, but are we going to have to wait for the results? Is there going to be a delay? Is there going to be
that seems likely, man.
Chaos afterwards?
It seems likely. I've seen quite a few commentators. We'll get onto the election in a bit, but I've seen quite a few commentators say that it could be quite drawn out.
Yeah, I think that's probably what everyone wants the least, isn't it? Like. I guess for all of us, if you like, neutral observers, us non-Americans, we kind of, we all want to see this resolved as quickly as possible so we can all kind of get on with our lives. And I guess the worst case scenario for pretty much everyone, whether they're blue or red, American or not, is some long drawn out process where there's recounts and court cases, etc., and we're just kind of left in limbo. We don't know who it's going to be. Exactly,
yeah, and that's something we all want to avoid. But it all depends. It takes long for these results to come in. There's the swing states and there's the recounts. Just quickly coming back to the Bitcoin's price specifically, I want to draw your guys' attention to, if you're not already subscribed to the trading channel, Coin Bureau Trading, you need to be subscribed right now, because I'll just show you guys there. So there, we'll leave a link to it as well, and we'll leave the handle over there, because yesterday Mariano, so he's from the Trading Parrot, another he's got his own channel as well, but he streams on Coin Bureau Trading. He released a video that's alpha packed, a lot of interesting analysis here, particularly as it relates to things like the MACD, CME gaps that could have happened over the weekend, the delta longs and shorts, how they're positioned in liquidation levels, RSI. But one of the more interesting charts there that I picked out was this chart from on the liquidity levels, right, or liquidity this liquidity range, right? And basically what it shows is the levels of a heat map for the levels of liquidity at different price points. That's only on this particular website, right? And basically it's called Trading Different, is the website. And each of these levels, the heat map shows the amount of potential liquidity in these levels based on either liquidation levels or on stop losses from traders. And the idea behind this is to try and show you where potential market makers, if you believe in the concept of Wyckoff method and moving prices to liquidation levels to try and squeeze people, where they would move the market, right, and where the particular heat map is. And the redder in this case, there's more liquidation levels there. So in this case, you see last week we hit the 73K level, where basically it took out already some of that liquidity, but came back down again. And it's more likely than not, in terms of market makers, would want to push it up into the 73K range back again than not. But obviously this depends on what happens in the next week, right? So yeah, it's currently drawing the 70 liquidity at the previous week. So that's an interesting chart from that analysis. But I would refer you guys to go and watch the latest video right now to go and take a look at the deeper analysis, because there's lots of other data points there and lots of other charts he looks at, specifically as it relates to the technical analysis.
Coin Bureau trading, I have to say, like, is absolutely flying at the moment. Dan, Aaron, and Mariano are doing absolutely fantastic work there. So do go and check it out. There is so much alpha on there. Those guys are posting a lot, and they really know their stuff.
Almost daily. And it's also interesting because they have different perspectives and different. So
Yeah.
Dan does altcoins, small cap altcoins. Aaron does a lot of deep dives into like current medium term trends. And Mariano is very technical on the side. And Mariano has also coded a lot of, does, coded bots and everything. So I would recommend definitely checking it out. Different analysis, different hosts, and different alpha.
Yeah. Great stuff. Just one last thing before we finish on Bitcoin then. I think, one of the things that a lot of people are worried about is the kind of lack of attention, isn't it? There doesn't seem to be much retail attention there. Having said that, those ETF flows, as you mentioned, have been really strong, but the kind of wider retail interest is low. And the Coinbase app rankings are still, this seems to be a pretty popular metric now. How high up the Google Play and Apple Store App Store rankings is the Coinbase app? It's currently a long way below.
It is 339 in total versus 40 back, where it was 40 back in the March all-time highs.
Okay.
And you guys need to check out that Coin Amp Rank bot on Twitter. It's actually quite useful as well.
Yeah.
Because it ranks it every single day.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to move on to talk about the election. We are in the final stages before it all kicks off. The final countdown, exactly. Before we do that, though, I have to remind you to like and subscribe. Get those likes up. Subscribe if you haven't.
And hit that bell
and
as well.
ring the bell. That's
the most important.
That's the most important thing. Ring the bell. Whatever you do, ring that bell.
It would be mighty swell if you hit that bell as well.
Beautiful. Okay. All right. So the election, we are getting close. Now, we talked last week about what each candidate's victory might mean for crypto. And if you remember that tweet from Kobe that we flagged up a few minutes ago, like long term, it's gonna be better than what we've got at the moment, whether it's Trump or Harris. So rather than talk any more about that, let's just have a look at some of the things that have been going on in the kind of crypto election crossover Venn diagram. And the first is Polymarket. Now, for a long time, Polymarket has been getting people in crypto very excited and beyond as well, because Trump took a really strong lead on Polymarket, and this was sort of giving hope to a lot of his supporters. Obviously, when the Democrats swapped out Biden for Harris, she had that big sort of ratings pump, didn't she? And it looked like she was running away with it. And Trump, if Polymarket is to be believed, Trump seemed to claw it back. However, I think it was sort of towards the end of last week, wasn't it?
Towards the end of last week, all over the weekend, those odds started falling again. So we can see what it looks like here. That's potentially as relation to polls that came out. And I think it's also important, guys, to point out that prediction markets are not polls. They are an estimate based on the wisdom of the crowd as to what they think will happen. But sometimes the wisdom of the crowd is not too strong. And also, so it's not a poll. And the polls were very tight. There were some that showed her actually in the lead, which is interesting. It could also be traders hedging their bets. This is a story in CoinDesk. That there's potential traders coming out there, hedging the risks. Hey, if I have big bags, my bags are, slanted towards a Trump win.
I think I think sort of most sensible traders would see that, if you leave Polymarket out of it for a sec, the polls are so tight and so many people, all these sort of polling experts have been saying, like, it's impossible to call. We won't know until the votes have been cast. So I think any trader worth their salt would want to hedge on that. So I think that probably explains a large part of it. Traders who have been long Trump are probably thinking, well, there is a chance it might not be him. So I better hedge my exposure.
Yeah. Speaking of traders that were long Trump, turns out the Polymarket whale was a Frenchman called Tether. Sacre bleu. Putain. He placed large bets on Donald Trump to win the election through multiple Polymarket accounts. Obviously, we talked about this a few times. And his trades reflect skepticism about polling accuracy, referencing past underestimates, which is fair. But what's interesting is he holds around 25% of Polymarket's Trump electoral odds, college odds.
Okay.
But around 40% of the popular vote. So he thinks, Trump could win the popular vote, which is interesting.
Now, that is confidence.
That's confidence, yes.
Now, Nick, can you tell me, please, pop question here. I'm relying on your gigabrain here. Do you know the last time a Republican won the popular vote in the US presidential election?
Bush 2004.
Wow,
Bush versus Kerry.
that was quick. Wow.
Yeah.
Don't test him. Don't test him,
me in my
people.
American politics, man. I remember those days.
Yeah.
So
Teo, this French polymarket whale, he is
a pseudonym. It's probably a pseudonym. Yeah.
Yeah, he is they are very confident that Trump is not only going to win the Electoral College, but also win the popular vote, which, he hasn't done so far. And that would be, the first time in 20 years.
Yeah.
So, Teo not only has a lot of money, but a lot of confidence in Trump. And I guess this is kind of what led to allegations that there was some sort of market manipulation going on Polymarket, wasn't there? The fact that this guy was just placing these massive bets, a lot of speculation on whether it was being done to sort of try and skew the market for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Just seems like this guy is MAGA to his core, despite being French.
The French MAGA.
Maybe he's not MAGA. Maybe he just believes that Trump will win. Maybe he's just
apparently he works in financial services, and he lived in the US for quite some time. So he kind of like knows, he's probably a data nerd, and he's probably like focused on it. And he does make good points to a certain degree from the perspective of under account in the polls. And there was also, speaking of polymarket and manipulation, there was also accusations last week of wash trading. I came out in a Fortune article. Potentially it could be. It's open permissionless markets. If people, are allowed to be doing what they want, and obviously, some may decide to do that. But I think it's detracting from the real story of the success of these prediction markets in general, in terms of allowing people to take a view on politics.
Can I just call something to mind as well?
Mm-hmm.
That Polymarket founder. Hats off to him. He looks about 14.
Yeah, man. They got the Gen Z hair going as well.
Real
Could
Gen
be a TikToker, Z. Yeah. But wow. And he's built this amazing platform out. How old is he? 26 or 27?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. He's young anyway, but he looks even younger. Good for him. Wow.
Good Fortune had an actual. After this article, they did another piece on him specifically, which is interesting reading.
I must read that.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we take the mickey out of Gen Z. Some of them are going and achieving great things. Okay, so I think the genius of Polymarket, or the fascinating thing about it, if you like, is it seems that we seem to now have a way for degenerates, that is non-US based degenerates, to be polled, to express their opinions on the race. And I just think it's going to be so interesting to see if Polymarket calls this right, or if it gets it completely wrong, because I think if it goes too far in one direction, it's either going to be absolutely incredible for Polymarket or very, very bad.
Yeah,
stakes
exactly.
are pretty high.
Stakes are high. Well, yeah. But it's also the crowd, right?
Yeah.
It's also the kind of people. It's a platform, right? The platform is like neutral. It's the crowd.
Is the wisdom of the crowd a thing, or is the crowd just a bunch of idiot degenerates?
Yeah.
Who knows? Okay, one more thing before we move on. We just want to talk about, this was raised, Nick Carter was talking about this, and this was interesting, how a Trump win, while it's generally thought to be good for crypto, could actually be bad for meme coins.
Yeah, so this is interesting, and it kind of makes sense, the argument, in the sense that if we have a Trump win, we're going to have regulatory clarity, we'll have a new SEC chair, we'll potentially have rules and regulations around when it comes to numerous different things, and one potentially could be token launches and ways to include people and retail in a permission structure, in a permission legal structure, where people could get access to early stage project launches. Because right now, and it's an age-old thing, since 1980s, you've had this SEC Reg D accredited investors framework, where if you're not an accredited investor, you're not rich, and you don't have a big income, you can't invest in early stage projects. So it's naturally exclusionary. Whereas that's why people have been investing in meme coins, right? Because meme coins, they think it's free and fair, and there's no gatekeepers. If you have a new SEC chair, new rules and regulations, it brings people back to potentially being able to invest in early stage projects, a la ICO 2017 level, and brings them back to actual projects that they have utility, and potentially tech-based projects, as opposed to gambling on meme coins, which right now in the current framework are the only place they can really get an early stage access to a launch. And then these new rules and regulations with an SEC chair potentially will come back and allow, they'll obviously focus their attention on actually going after nefarious actors in the meme coin space, as opposed to the likes of Uniswap, Consensus, Immutable, etc.
Yeah. So, I mean, a Trump administration could bring fundamentals back into play for people investing in altcoins.
Here we go, man.
I mean, that would be nice.
Who knew we needed that?
Sadly, we do. Yeah, I kind of agree with this. I think maybe, regulatory sanity, as you said, I think we could be a way away from that, even if Trump does win, because these things move so slowly, don't they? I think obviously it depends on the makeup of the Senate and the House as well. How many pro-crypto politicians do we have in there? Following tomorrow's vote, because obviously it's not just the president that the US is voting for. So yeah, I mean, I think probably short term, maybe meme coins probably wouldn't suffer too much. But I mean, if this is a long term thing, I think that's to be welcomed. I mean, I think probably for the sake of everyone's sanity, we need to break out of the meme coin cycle at some point.
Yeah,
the meme coin. I think at some point we need to decide. We've probably had enough of memes now, guys. Let's let's move on to something a bit more fundamental. Okay, speaking of serious fundamental
stuff, the most fundamental.
That's
well
nice,
done,
isn't it? That's nice. Let's talk about oracles. Okay, so the two biggest oracle cryptos in the space are kind of head to head at the moment. So this is Chainlink and Pyth network.
Yeah, so just as in terms of oracles, in case you guys don't know, quickly, obviously they allow for the bringing in data and information off chain, on chain, right? And one of the leaders in the space is Chainlink. It's been around since 2018, 2017.
Yeah, it's
been
old
school project. And they obviously have the most TVS, total value secured, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that means the most of the dApps in terms of TVL that's secured with Chainlink data feeds. They basically... So yeah, they had the most total value secured. But now Pyth last week overtook Chainlink in total 30-day transaction volume, which is interesting. Now Pyth is a competitor. It's a much more high-performant competitor with higher data fidelity, apparently. It's more CeFi orientated in terms of like the data providers, the likes of Jump. It was incubated out of Jump. But they overtook them in 30-day volume. And Chronicle is another data Oracle provider. We can take a look at the TVS here in terms of on DeFi Llama, how it looks, just if we can pull that up as well. This is what the leaderboard looks like in terms of Oracle space. So Chainlink's obviously securing the most in terms of total value secured, but in the past 30 days, we've had higher data volume on Pyth, right? And it's interesting because I think that Pyth has been seeing massive growth. Its total value secured has grown by a factor of 46 times in 9 months, and it's from 98 million to up there to 4.8 billion or something. Yeah, it is. It's got a big community growing around it as well. It's obviously, like I say, it's got a different approach to things in terms of technically. It's much faster. And it's obviously it uses circuit breakers instead of confidence intervals. Chainlink uses circuit breakers. Pyth uses confidence intervals. Speed 400 milliseconds. This is 5.
So Pyth, as I remember, it requests data. So it will pull data when it needs it. Whereas Chainlink is sort of constantly pushing it, which I think when we reviewed Pyth for I should say as well.
You hold it, yeah.
I hold Pyth. I have since we reviewed it for CBC Coin Bureau Club back in December last year.
God, you're the only holder, yeah.
I'm the only one. I'm the only one here who went in on Pyth.
He held it through those unlocks, which we'll get to in a bit.
yeah. I've ridden that. I've ridden that horse. So and that was one of the things that kind of stood out for me, was that there seemed to be a lot more implied kind of efficiency there with Pyth's model. But that said, as you pointed out, Chainlink has long been the leader in this space. I think when I was sort of going back through that review earlier, when we reviewed it, Chainlink was providing feeds was integrated with around sort of 2,000 dApps.
Yeah.
And Pyth at that point around 200. And from what I can see, Pyth has sort of expanded to about sort of around 300 now.
I think Pyth also supports more chains.
Right.
More chains. But in terms of and Pyth, obviously, like I said, it's a lot more centralized from the perspective of the data providers. It's like the CNBC, with these trading firms, market makers, as opposed to anyone can set up and provide data from the likes of Chainlink. So Chainlink could be viewed as slightly more decentralized. Also, price history in terms of the two is kind of a story. I've drawn up this is the price of a Pyth in Link.
Ooh.
Does it look nice? How does it look to you guys?
That does not look nice. That does not look nice.
Were you holding it? You're in that
as a Pyth holder, I am suffering.
But that was probably because of these unlocks, I think. Okay, look, market conditions and unlocks. Those were massive unlocks back in May. We pulled them up on. We've also got these unlocks from Tokenomist. Shudders, right? Shudders.
That's not nice.
Yeah, so we had and they're all cliffs, which is crazy around these particular dates, and then we'll have the next one next year, 2025. So that it had an impact on the outstanding supply, obviously. Now, I mean, whether it was market conditions or outstanding supply that drove Pyth lower, it could be a factor of both. Tokenomics wise, Link has a lot more of the circulating supply out, 62% versus Pyth 36%.
Yeah,
but you're from a perspective of a high beta play on Link, right? Link has also been kind of static in price. Your perspective around potentially a high beta play and bet on the Solana ecosystem as well, because
yeah, well, that was kind of that was sort of a big part of why I went in on Pyth as a beta play, not just on Chainlink, but also on Solana as well. And of course, as you say, Pyth is kind of expanding, supporting more chains now. But yeah, I see Pyth as a very, very sort of long-term project, and I do, in terms of gains, like I'm not expecting huge returns from this bull market necessarily, but I think it could become, a long-term piece of core infrastructure like Chainlink. And I don't know if this is necessarily a zero-sum game when it comes to these oracles. Like I think there's a world in which Chainlink and Pyth and possibly some of these other oracles can all exist side by side. It's not necessarily winner takes all.
There's a lot of other interesting oracles out there. I didn't really know. Like obviously, we mentioned Chronicle, and then I met at last week at the conference. There was a guy, the founder of Redstone, which is another oracle on Ethereum. So doesn't have to be winner takes all. It doesn't always have to be competitive, us versus them kind of thing. Both also have very strong communities. The Link Marines.
The Link Marines. So what's the Pyth community called then?
I don't know what we Pyth takers.
Pyth takers.
You're taking the Pyth, man. Pyth takers.
You're taking the Pyth.
Taking the Pyth. Taking the Pyth on those data feeds, mate.
Okay, well, I mean, if there are any Pyth community members out there, how do you feel about being called the Pyth taker? Oh yeah, the Pythons. Pythons.
I mean, but yeah, it's interesting. I think that one thing I'll quickly before we move on to the next story, I think it's also worth noting that Chainlink has also got the CCIP. They're trying to become more of an interoperability protocol more broadly. And Pyth, I think that one thing they need to fix is that, it will come with governance votes potentially, is more use cases for Pyth itself natively within the protocol, especially in PythNet, paying for fees, data fees in Pyth only. So they still got to sort out the tokenomics. But look, I mean, I think, we got a video, by the way, coming out. We got a video coming out, guys. So on Pyth versus Chainlink in the next 2-3 days. Well, next 3 or 4 days. Yeah. Keep it peeled for that.
Yeah, Python or Python is being suggested. I mean, you'd have to call it a Python, wouldn't you? Even though it's PythNet, where it should be Pyth. But as I understand it, it's Pyth.
Yeah, I mean, that's
or
another
Pythian.
thing.
Flint DB suggests Pythian or Pythian.
Pythian. Is it Pyth? That. Yeah, Pyth. I've seen some people say Pyth and some people say Pyth. But I watched a few videos by the founders, and I'm pretty sure it's Pyth.
Yeah, I mean, I called it Pyth in the review, so it's Pyth now.
It's Pyth.
Whether you like it or not, guys.
The official authority on all things crypto said it's Pyth. So.
Well, there you are. Who's that then? Okay, guys, we are up to over 2K viewers. This is fantastic. Why don't you celebrate by hitting the like button?
Hitting the like right now. And of course, if you guys aren't following our Twitter already, you got to be doing that right now, because we've got a lot of alpha in there. News, breaking news. Guy does lovely shorts on there,
Yeah,
his TikTok,
if you feel I need more of this idiot in my life, then Twitter's the way to go. You can see me there almost every day.
Breaking news, votes, polls, all fun stuff.
All good stuff. Okay, Pythiaconda. This is great. The names for the Pyth community are really getting people going, and it's nice because everyone's bickering about.
Pythiaconda. That's a good one, actually. What's an anagram, right?
Pythiaconda.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
That's a good one, man. Well done.
Like it. Mythological Lone Lion is a great name as well. Pythilback.
I thought we got rid of that.
Take
man.
a bow, sir.
Come on, bro.
Take a bow. Brilliant. Well, there we are. Cody Harris sums it up. He holds Link and Pyth. Well done, Cody. I think that's probably the sensible way to go about it. Okay, right. So that is the Battle of the Oracles. And well, the only other thing I wanted to say was like the big thing for Pyth will obviously be whether you actually get to use Pyth for these data feeds.
Yeah.
Because we're still, that was something we highlighted in the review, and that was, a year ago. So I don't know if we'll necessarily see Pyth Moon until that is implemented. I don't think, as far as I know, there are any governance proposals for that, but inshallah. Okay, let's move on. Unstoppable USDT.
Keeps on rolling, man. And remember there was that FUD that came from the Wall Street Journal, like 2 weeks ago, like water off a duck's back, no worry at all. Teflon Tether.
Yeah.
Teflon Tether literally is like the Korea FUD, the China FUD. Doesn't matter, don't care, keep rolling. Keep on cranking out those Tether greens. And last week in the quarterly net profits reached 1.15 billion. Driven from interest on Tether's US Treasury holdings.
Mm-hmm.
Consolidated profit for the year so far, 7.7 billion profit.
On those treasuries. Those guys are the kings of passive income.
Kings of passive incomes. They hold over $100 billion in US T-bills, more than Germany. Unglaublich. Scheiße. Yeah.
I bumped into Paolo Arduino at Token 2049 in Dubai earlier this year, because Jess obviously interviewed him. And we had a nice chat, actually, and I'm sure we'll speak to him again in future. But I really just wanted to ask him, is the office fridge at Tether headquarters just filled with champagne and stuff like that? Those guys, they're making so much money.
So much money. It's just printing, right? And it's especially if interest rates are going to start climbing again with inflation, that kind of stuff. The interest rates on some of the T-bills past 5 years are up, right? Rates are up.
Yeah.
So,
And a friendly reminder as well that those profits, that passive income that Tether is making on those T-bill deposits, some of that, I shouldn't say a lot because we just don't know, but some of that is going into Bitcoin.
Yeah, they've quarterly Bitcoin buys, so that's obviously price positive.
As far as I know, they haven't revealed how much Bitcoin they're buying. I wish they would.
Yeah,
it's sort of come on, guys. I mean,
just let it go.
It could be anything.
Don't be a tease. Come on.
Yeah, you'd imagine it would be a fairly hefty amount. I mean, it's not like they're short of cash.
They invest in everything, man. They invest in AI startups. They invest in, because they've just got so much cash.
They invested in an agricultural science firm in Latin America or something like that. It's those guys are diversifying.
Yeah.
I mean,
when you have to diversify away from your $100 billion in USD, you've got a problem.
Yeah, well, it's probably a case of guys, what do we do with all this money?
No, man. Pablo Escobar, just put it in your house, like Donald Duck swimming it or something, man.
The money bin.
Yeah.
And USDT is actually being adopted by Bolivian banks now as well.
Yeah, it's big in Latin America, big in Asia on Tron, massive amounts of demand of Tether on Tron in Asia. It's been picked up in these emerging markets. It's becoming the story. I mean, especially in these countries where they have a monetary instability, Tether is becoming a monetary exchange. And it's interesting as well because this year the mic has been rolled out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this could impact Tether's use within the EU because exchanges have to delist it, and some have already delisted it. And what's interesting is the criticism that Paolo gave for these EU MiCA regulations, because the regulations require stablecoin issuers to hold cash and cash equivalents within banks, or cash in banks, right? Problem with that is banks are inherently unstable because of fractional reserve.
Right. Yeah.
So whereas you can get liquidity on $100 billion of general liquidity for billions in treasuries, if you go to withdraw bank from a bank account, right?
Yeah.
Fractional reserve, SVB. So especially, because they rent out all their funds, and this is why MiCAs potentially could create instability, especially if stablecoins get large enough.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the really irritating things from last year, wasn't it? When USDC depegged because of SVB.
It's not because of Circle.
Yeah, but still, when media publications talk about stablecoins, and there was this US Treasury Department report recently, I think, that had some very negative stuff about stablecoins in there, and they talked about USDC depegging. It was guys, you did that. That was the banking system.
Exactly.
USDC was fine. It was just, you cut off 8% of their reserves.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy.
Speaking of Circle, I had an interview last week with Jeremy Alia.
How was that?
It was good. He's a very smart man. He made a very good case. I mean, we rail against it, but he did make a very good case for regulated stablecoins and growth. And Circle is, it's interesting in terms of the beginning of Circle, and he tried to square the circle between square the circle.
I like it.
Between decentralization and the need for decentralization, but also within a centralized framework that we have in the traditional financial system. So that's coming out this week on the More Coin Bureau. If you guys aren't subscribed,
okay, look out for that. Nick talking with one of his TradFi buddies, Jeremy Allaire of
guy.
Circle. Now that will be a good interview. I'm looking forward to that. Okay, that is all the news items we wanted to cover for today. So it is time to move on to last week's top performing cryptos, the top gainers, and see if we can't find out why exactly they've been pumping. I must say, spoiler alert, it was a bit tricky to find out why some of these have been pumping, but I've done my best. For you guys, I've done my best. Man. Okay, so first up, we have once again. I'm getting sick of saying this. I shouldn't because I hold Sui. It is Sui. Sui is again one of last week's top gainers. I couldn't find a specific catalyst. It just seems to be continued hype for Sui. Sui now you can also use USDC on Sui now via Coinbase, which is obviously good from a liquidity aspect. I must point out as well, my Twitter timeline is full of a huge army of Sui shills.
Yeah, I mean, it's true.
Which is a bit irritating.
Well, I mean, it's a community, very strong community,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like,
like to be, they're getting their message out there. And
but the question is, as long as it's community of diverse range of people, like diverse accounts, not just particular centralized, I'm bang on about Sui, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean, a lot of them are, because Sui has a name service now, so you can get Sui names.
Yes,
but
Sui,
a lot of them are, xyz.sui. And you're sort of like, well, of course you're going to be bullish. Yeah. Bullish on Sui. Anyhow, it's good to see it doing well.
Yeah, 100%.
Very promising project. So yeah, continued hype by the look of it. Next up,
Dogecoin. Now, not sure what the catalyst is here, unless it's something to do with potentially a Trump beta play. With if he wins and then Elon becomes the head of Department of Government Efficiency.
Oh yeah.
It could also be because did you hear the story about Elon Musk tweeting about Peanut?
Oh, this is the squirrel. Yeah.
Man, this is the most crazy story.
I logged onto Twitter on Saturday morning and just saw all this stuff about a squirrel. I was like,
a squirrel Peanut. I was like, oh God, I can't. Like, I don't know what I don't want. I don't want to know about the meme coin. I don't want to know about the story. I just can't be. Are we gonna have to talk about this in the live? We're gonna have to talk about Peanuts.
Yeah. So yeah, I think this is our best guess, isn't it? That it's just Dogecoin is doing well because
Elon, I think.
Theory, yeah, Elon Musk as usual. Do you think really, like, if Trump wins, then Elon Musk will become like the head of the Department of Government Efficiency? I mean, this is already the world's busiest man.
Man, I think the guy managed to find somewhere somehow. I mean, he's superhuman. He'll
just clone himself again.
He'll just clone himself, exactly. Or use Neuralink in some way to basically clone his brain and put it into some cadaver.
Yeah.
Who knows?
There we are. We've uncovered the mystery of Elon Musk. Okay, next up is Maker. MKR. Now, this was I couldn't really find anything. And what's interesting is that they recently rebranded to Sky. And that rebrand, to say it fell flat on its ass, is something of an understatement. Like, it just did not fly.
Was just not good. Did you see the announcement video? Sorry to ruin Christensen, but it looked like a hostage video.
It was very weird, wasn't it?
It was very weird. It was like
very weird.
It's very, it was like, it was like, this is not what you would expect for a rebrand of a massive protocol like this.
Yeah. I used to have a couple of friends who sort of worked in PR, and they always used to say, it's like, do not rebrand. Like, a rebrand should be absolute, like, nuclear last option.
Yeah, I mean, especially like, and because if it goes wrong, and and also it's like, I understand your community, right? Like, yes, you may try and like, maybe it's fresh, but it's and in crypto it's even worse of a sign. Because it's kind of like, I don't know if that I think it's a tough one to sell. Tough one to sell.
But anyway, I've been sort of hearing rumors that Maker or Sky is now rowing back on that rebrand, so they might actually now go back to being Maker. So my best guess for MKR doing well over the last week is it's kind of just regaining some kind of lost ground, because it has rebranded. That doesn't necessarily mean the product itself has got any worse. And obviously Maker is, is a long-standing, very efficient project. So,
or it's going to meet its maker.
Going to be. You
couldn't
help yourself.
I couldn't help myself. Sorry.
Okay. What do we got next then?
Tron, TRX, could be due to this announcement. Speaking of Chainlink, a recent partnership with Chainlink announcement. We've got the picture there with Mr. Justin's son, and Sergey Nazarov.
Mhm.
You know, making the announcement. You know, obviously Tron's big. It's a big blockchain for sure. Like I think Tron, WinkLink, that other Chainlink, that other data provider or Oracle provider was big on Tron. WinkLink. If you,
Oh yeah, I saw
WinkLink.
that in the thing. I was like, I haven't
Maybe
really
this
heard of
is
WinkLink.
more. Yeah, me neither. But it's massive on Tron because that's where TVS got massive TVS on Tron. So that could be a relation to that announcement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is TRX. And then finally, we haven't had an exchange token as one of the top gainers over the last week for a while. But last time I looked, KuCoin's KCS was one of last week's top gainers. I mean, it seems to have rode back quite a bit. But so, yeah, I did a bit of digging into this. I mean, KuCoin's volumes have been increasing recently.
Seems they've managed to come over that.
Yeah, because I think back in April they were sort of it found out the DOJ and the CFTC were after them. And I think KuCoin's volumes took a big hit after that. So again, I kind of feel like with Maker, KuCoin lost some ground, and now they've kind of made it up. But the last I checked, KuCoin's volumes had actually gone up, whereas most other exchanges, bar a few, had actually gone down. So that's my best guess as to why KCS did well last week. Now, before we move on to dates for the diary, I want to ask a question of you guys, because I saw a comment last week that's kind of stuck with me. I don't think I brought it up on the screen, but maybe I should have done. But someone was saying, look, why don't you, rather than focusing on coins that have already done well, what about focusing on coins to watch, like things that might do well over the coming week? And I've kind of thought about it a lot. I mean, one thing I will say is that is easier said than done, because if it was very easy to do, then we'd all be making tons of money on it.
It's also will require a research team. It will require some resources from our side, and it will require a bit more in-depth digging. But if you guys want to see it, we'll need to base it on the reaction to this. Comment you want to see it, like this video. Maybe if we get enough comments and feedback, we'll consider it for sure.
Yeah, let us know in the comments, guys. Whilst tapping that like button oh so gently. Let us know in the comments if you'd like to see us cover something like that as well. Or do you like the top gainers as it is? Do you like sort of finding out why these things are pumped, or do you want us to kind of look into maybe do some digging into sort of things that might be might gain? But we would have to caveat that
it would have to be based on numerous factors. It would have to be based on fundamental stuff, what's happening, dates for diary, numerous different things. Then also just something we came across in our research, interesting projects, right? Of all ranges of market caps.
And NB says yes. Bishop says yes. Lawnmower says do it.
Do it now.
Okay. Alpha, always more alpha. Okay. All right. Well, we'll do that next week, and we'll see how we get on. It's get some of our
alpha on our beta plays.
Alpha on our beta players. Yeah.
There we go.
Yep. Speak about coins that could do well. Okay.
There we go.
Could do well. Yet another person Pablo asking when Coin Bureau meme coin. Never, Pablo. It ain't happening.
No,
ain't happening,
never.
My friend.
No, ain't nobody got time for that. Nobody got time for that stress, bro.
We are not going down that dark path ever. And on a serious note, if you ever do see someone talking about a Coin Bureau meme coin, even if it's supposedly me, it's not happening, and you're watching or reading a fake, because we will never do that. So no Coin Bureau meme coin, or any other sort of coin for that matter.
No.
But okay, so it seems to be seems that you do want us to talk about sort of promising projects, things to watch. So we will try that next week and see how we get on. All right.
Speaking of things to watch,
another beautiful segue.
Dates for your diary.
Okay, so coming up now, Tuesday's pretty quiet. Tomorrow, I've racked my brain. Other than the fact that it's Virat Kohli's birthday.
Yeah, I mean, the cricketer's birthday.
The great
that's
cricketer.
That's a big thing.
Other than the fact that it's Virat Kohli's birthday tomorrow, I don't think there's anything happening. Can you? I
saw something about some election somewhere, but it's just like some country somewhere, some other country, an election of some description.
Probably some backwater.
Yeah, man. Who cares? Who cares, man? These things are over. Probably just in French election.
Wow.
No, I'm joking.
Sacre bleu. Okay, well, there we go. France declares war on Coin Bureau. Beautiful. Okay, yep. Tuesday, as well as being Virat Kohli, the great Indian batsman's birthday, it is of course the US election. You know that, so hold on to them butts. What's happening on Thursday?
Thursday, and it's a busy week. Now, Thursday is obviously an FOMC meeting. Right? Fed's going to be doing the interest rate decision. Now, last week we had, inflation is trending lower, but it's wide expectation is 25 basis points. And also jobs market is not looking too good. Like we had the NFP numbers last week, which weren't good. So expect 25 basis points. But of course, this is coming in just after the election. There's so much going on. But what's interesting as well is Friday. Now, this is something that Mariano also brought up in his recent video. Is although the actual interest rate decision is important, it's also important to look at the Fed data, the Fed balance sheet prints, right, or the Fed balance sheet disclosures, and this comes out on Friday. And the previous was 7 trillion. In terms of the size of the Fed's balance sheet. So keep an eye on that data point as well. It's an interesting data point to watch because interest rate is one thing. The Fed's fund rate is one thing, but the Fed's balance sheet is the total liquidity they're pumping into it. So
okay, 7 trillion. That's 1/5 of the U.S. national debt.
There we go.
Probably nothing.
No, probably nothing.
Okay, yeah. As Nick said, it's a busy old week, guys. You gotta lock in for this one. Eyes down for a full house. Election on Tuesday, FOMC meeting, and interest rate decision, and of course Jerome Powell's press conference. Yeah. We're going to get 25 basis point cut, but the big question is, will we get another 25 basis point cut in December as well? Will the Fed give us an interest rate cut for Christmas? So that is going to be big. What a lot to fit into 2 days.
Wow,
that's intense. So keep a lookout for that. And as Nick said, also the Fed balance sheet print, that is probably a bit underrated. Really, that's important.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on then to some tweets of the week. We've got 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 5 absolute gems for you this week. First one is from Pete Rizzo, the Bitcoin historian. This guy does great work.
Yeah.
This is a really interesting thread on the Bitcoin white paper, which, as you guys might remember, was 16 years old last week. 16
years old, a teenager in its prime years.
Yeah.
Crazy. What do you think?
I've got to say, I hope Bitcoin does better at 16 years old than I did. If Bitcoin acts
it's
like
discovering itself and it's going crazy, it's volatile as hell. It's having an existential crisis.
Yeah,
what's happening to me?
Lurches from highs to
am
lows.
I TradFi? Am I centralized? Am I not?
This could be a rough year. Okay, so I just picked out a couple of obviously, you guys know the Bitcoin white paper, the sort of foundational text, the reason why we're all here, basically. And Pete lists, I think it's sort of 12 fascinating factoids about the Bitcoin white paper. I just picked out a couple for you here. This one, it is 2,736 words long. That's shorter than the Magna Carta.
That's shorter than many of our scripts.
That's shorter than most Coin Bureau videos. Yeah. Shorter than the Magna Carta and shorter than the US Constitution. I always said, if you can keep it short, then you're on to a winner. So that's the first fact. And then after Satoshi released the Bitcoin white paper 16 years ago on the 31st of October 2008, it took 3 days for someone to comment. And when they did, it was negative. So I've got the quote here, actually. It was from a guy, I think it was called James McDonald. We very, very much need such a system. But the way I understand your proposal, it does not seem to scale to the required size.
The first mid-curver to
yeah.
The first mid-curver to regret the decision for its life.
Yeah, so absolutely fascinating. As I always say, the history of Bitcoin is just so interesting. And Pete Rizzo does some great work as the Bitcoin historian. So happy birthday last week. Happy birthday, Bitcoin, for last week. All right, the next tweet is from Mike Ippolito. Now, this, I won't read it all out, but this is basically saying, new projects come along in crypto quite often.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time they get fudded almost to death by people who are already holding bags from sort of projects that they might replace. Many such cases, unfortunately, acidic pushback, vitriol, and ad hominem attacks. I think this is good. I think this is a timely reminder, folks, that innovation is what helps drive this sector. And you might remember that we had one of the tweets of the week last week was from Hasib from the Chopping Block, pointing out that this idea of first mover advantage in crypto is actually a bit of a misnomer, because there are many projects now that are sort of leaders in their particular field, in their particular niche, but actually they sort of stole the crown from someone else.
Get complacent, and the ones who were stolen from, they get complacent, right? If you get that position of power, you think You have
Yeah.
a monopoly, and you think that no one can replace you. So first mover is not for life. Remember that.
Yeah, absolutely. So keep your minds open to innovation, guys, because obviously I think one of the sort of cutthroat aspects of this space is that, you know, people release stuff a lot of the time. This stuff is open source, so it's able to be copied and improved upon. But this is not a space that stands still. Okay, so next tweet is from Woo Blockchain. This is just, if you don't follow Woo Blockchain either on Twitter or Telegram, you're missing out, because this is a great source of kind of up to the minute news. Whenever we do like a top accounts, top Telegram accounts, Woo Blockchain's always up there, isn't it? So Colin Woo, who runs it, he is saying. Sorry, I've lost the tweet there.
So, according to Look on Chain, the largest holder of the cult meme coin, Harry Botter Obama Sonic 10 Inu Bitcoin, which has a market value of over 200 million, sold all 24 million tokens for 50 WBTC. So he rugged them.
Okay,
dumped on them. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I guess, folks, welcome to the game. You know, people can play. I mean, I think people would say rug pull, but maybe not. I mean, you know, this is the guy who created it. It was in his gift to do it, and I think that's a timely reminder that when you're investing in a meme coin, most of the time there is someone holding a big old bag of it, a bigger bag of it than you'll ever be able to hold, and they can sell at any moment. So I think
I'm
that's
just incredibly perturbed by the comment on screen now. I'm sorry. That's killed my flow, man.
Well, someone else saying he doesn't have silicone,
creatine.
then be Viking tennis player biceps. I love it. By the end of the stream, it's always just people just debating
on me.
Just
okay, that's no long shirts anymore.
No long shirt. There you are. You've ruined it for everyone now. Okay. Next up, this tweet from Jake Chavinsky. Yes, this relates to Immutable. Now, I say this as a depressed IMX bag holder. Immutable got served with a Wells notice last week, and it just see another typical SEC action, really. Apparently, there was minimal consultation. As I understand it, Immutable, sort of, the company had their first sort of meeting with the SEC, and then straight after, boom, Wells notice.
Come in and speak to us. So, hello, how you doing? Here's your Wells notice. You get a Wells notice, and you get a Wells. Thank you for stopping by.
I laugh, but I shouldn't. Yeah, it's so this is a bit depressing, really. Another Wells notice. You know, obviously, a Wells notice is an intent to sue. It doesn't mean they will sue, but like most of the time, I think it's like 80-90% of times they do follow through on a Wells notice. So I guess we kind of have to assume that's what's going to happen. But yeah, just the SEC once again going after a crypto company, and once again going after a crypto company, you know, when there are many bad guys that they could be going after.
So many, man.
And instead they choose to go after a company that, you know, that is actually building something and trying to do it right. So well done, Gary Gensler and co. Hopefully Gary will be out of a job maybe by tomorrow. Who knows?
Yeah.
Okay, and last up, shitpost of the week is from Ivory. We couldn't resist it. Please check your kids' candy this Halloween. Just found another.
Yeah, man. It's gotta watch out, man. It's worse than razor blades, man.
They will hurt.
It's worse. They will hurt you financially and otherwise.
Okay, that is tweets of the week. It is time to look at some of your feedback now before we go off. So this from Stefan: I don't think BTC will go parabolic this week. If Trump will win, my money is on Doge to 50 cents. Okay, so he's thinking the Doge beta play.
Doge beta play is a fair one. I think it's obviously, it's probably got more potential in the sense that if he does start this kind of government efficiency, also just meme coins in general, right? High beta plays will do well when the market's moving, much more so, right? So you'll make a lot more if you, whatever bet it is, you'll make more for a unit of imposition on a meme coin if the markets do go absolutely ape. Don't think BTC will go parabolic this week. Well, yeah, this is a fair point in the sense that if the election results aren't categorical in the week, which is very likely they won't be. There's a lot of analysis I've seen around this because it's going to come down to just a few states, and then if some of the states are lost here, then it's the West Coast states, comes down to Nevada, then there's potentially challenges, and I've also heard analysis that it could potentially even out till January, who knows. So it at least for this week there will be some uncertainty, but unless it's a categorical one either side.
Yeah. Let's see. I think you make a good point there, Stefan. So let's face it, anything can happen. That would be my message to take into tomorrow. Like anything could happen in the markets, and there's just so many. There's so many.
But if it
variables.
is a categorical one and it takes us above those liquidation levels, and you get all the gamma squeezes and everything, you don't underestimate how quickly Bitcoin can fly. And once it goes above all-time highs, then sell it. Then price is the best selling point of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Retail starts getting back in. ETF flows pump up.
Narrative follows price.
There we go.
Okay, Nick, I'm afraid I've got bad news for you. Oxford Row coach, long-time viewer, good to have you back, my friend.
Oh,
Speaking as a member of the Stewards Enclosure, Henry Royal Regatta requires a jack in. I should have remembered that. Sorry, you're barred, Nick.
Oh, man. This is unfair.
I've got my Bitcoin tie outside. There is my jacket as well. I don't know if you'd fit it, though.
With the Bitcoin tie, with the Bitcoin work, with the Henry Regatta, would it go with this as well? Do you need to wear shoes? Because I need to wear shoes as well? Because I'm currently got like.
I'm sorry, sir. There's about half a dozen reasons why you can't come in today, but thank you anyway. Okay, Crazy Diamond says, I got very lucky. Daylight savings screwed me up, and America needs to get rid of it. Almost missed the live stream. We're just glad you could make it. Thanks for joining. Those daylight savings do make things complicated. So obviously the Pyth Chainlink thing there was a lot of debate about this. So we talked about Pyth quite a lot, but Mikhail says Chainlink most useful project in whole crypto sphere.
It got a sphere. I mean, look, it's got the most total value secured. It's an OG Oracle provider. They're working on the CCIP. We'll see. Like I say, we've got a video coming out comparing the two.
I guess if Chainlink, if you were to remove Chainlink, then we'd have the crypto space as a whole would have some issues.
Yeah,
so it is kind of, I guess you could say it is kind of systemically important. Adri, well spotted. He sees pants.
There we go, man.
There
we are.
They miss nothing, Nick. They miss nothing. Eke Homo is having an existential crisis. None of this matters. I hope you're all right, sir. Sending you best.
Eke Homo.
Eke Homo. It's an interesting name.
Interesting choice.
Okay, this is an interesting question. Wouldn't polymarket, i.e. crypto users, be biased towards the crypto/Bitcoin candidate?
I would counter that. Look, I mean, they potentially want to hedge a risk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you long, what's the point? Is unless you believe that polymarket odds are going to skew the election, which they're unlikely to. Like it's only people fixated on it. And are you more likely to want? Then it comes back to the question we've debated ad nauseum. It's like, are you likely to want to vote more based on whether you see Trump ahead in the prediction polls or Harris or whatever? Which one is more likely to want to go to the polls? So I don't think it's necessary. I think it's just basically potentially crypto echo chambers on Twitter and all that kind of stuff. And if you're in those circles, you think that potentially Trump could be more likely to win based on that than it is what the actual polls or actual people. I don't know what most actual voters in the US I mean, the polls are the only other thing, but then the question is, you got the shy Trump voter, are the polls undercounted, all this kind of stuff. Who knows?
Yeah. That's an interesting question. Okay. All right. Hot take here. Don't get angry, people. Kenny Dean says, I think we'll be closer to regulatory sanity. I like the fact that regulatory sanity is now in use. If Kamala is elected, Trump will definitely moon BTC, but I don't think his administration understands crypto in general. I kind of cautiously agree with you on that thing about the Trump administration not necessarily understanding crypto in general. But does the Harris administration understand it any better?
I don't know, man. Do you know who's on his transition team? It's Howard Lutnick, the guy CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald. Not only does his firm hold hundreds of billions of almost 100 billion of Tethers, US dollar treasuries, but he apparently disclosed on CNBC he holds hundreds of millions in Bitcoin. Okay. He does. So he's on the transition team. Who knows who he's going to elect to be there? There's also talk around he could become Treasury Secretary. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that was sort of meant. I mean, it's been interesting because Trump has sort of been kind of touted. So many people have sort of been touted for particular jobs, haven't they?
Keep the excitement and the suspense going.
Yeah.
I mean, it's. I don't know. I mean, I don't know who she would select. It's still going to be better than the status quo.
Absolutely.
So whatever.
That's the main thing.
Quo,
that's the main thing. All right. Crypto Smoke says, that's a good name. So far, really liking your guys' live vibe. Keep it up. I'll be back next time. We'll be pleased to see you, sir. We'll be pleased to see you. Okay. I don't know how to pronounce this, eng.crypto. Guy, Nick, question for you. Why haven't you started Coin Bureau Club for GCC residents? I mean, isn't Coin Bureau based out of Dubai? Yes, you're right. Coin Bureau is based out of Dubai, and adding support for GCC countries is very much on the roadmap. Unfortunately, it's rather a lot of work in the background. You have to, in order to pay tax on it, etc. VAT.
Well, I mean, VAT, you have to register in VAT in all these countries in Dubai. Free zone setups are different. It's trust me, I know a lot about this.
Yeah.
Dubai free zones have a different regulatory, you register for that and that kind of stuff. So we're working on it. Don't worry, we're working on it. But we'll get it for you guys.
It is definitely on the roadmap, and we really want to do it because we appreciate how many people out here are keen for it. Russell Belbeck says Pyth off. Well, that's not nice.
That's not nice.
Tiago says thoughts on ETH, guys.
You want to take that one, guy?
Wow.
You want to take that hot
Where do we even start? Look, I tell you what, I'm filming tomorrow a video on Ethereum's Pectra upgrade. So everything that's happening with Pectra and what it means and what it could signal for ETH. I was talking to our Coin Bureau Club members in the Discord recently, about some of the things that I'm planning to do with my portfolio. I'm still bullish on ETH in the long term. I'm not planning to sell most of my ETH. I might sell a bit if it gets towards 3,000, because then, there'll be other things that I might want to rotate into with potential for higher gains, because you only need to look at ETH's market cap to see that it's not going to pump as much as some cryptos when things go crazy. But Ethereum should not be written off. That's the short of it.
I remember Kobe's tweet from last week. It's like, don't worry, guys, both Bitcoin and Ethereum are $2,000 away from the all-time highs.
That should have been one of the tweets of the week.
That should have.
That was a great
Picture.
tweet.
Yeah, I mean, there was also TradFi institutions. There's adoption of ETH and tokenization of things on ETH is increasing. So it seems TradFi is most comfortable with Ethereum blockchain. The issue is value accrual from the L2s, price potential based on the use case, whether the L1 will be used, and all this kind of stuff, and then the debate around monolithic versus modular, all that kind of stuff. I'm not too bullish. That's why I don't hold any ETH anymore. But I wish it well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wish it well.
Absolutely.
So look up a review.
Okay, going back to the question of rebranding, Commissiorex says yes, rebranding should be gradual. Yeah, I mean, if it's done at all, like I think the whole sort of Make a Sky thing was evidence that it should only be done as an absolute last resort.
Arthur Anderson.
What's that?
Arthur Anderson. They were the auditors of Enron. They were rebranded to Accenture. Unless that happens.
Okay, that was probably a good rebrand.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll wind things up now because we are past the hour. I love how this comment section always ends up with trying to dress Nick up. People are obsessed with what you're wearing.
I should use this as my personal. They're personal fashion police. I should go and some feedback and put it all into one spreadsheet and just utilize it when I go to the personal shoppers here in Dubai. Call one up, being like, okay, here's the feedback I've got from the stream. Put it together.
Do it. Make it happen. Okay, stocks intake. Nick, are you South African? Your accent sure seems like it. I grew up I presume that's Johannesburg.
I thought I could have hidden it some way, but no.
Look, he may be dressed.
It
persists. He may be dressed like a camp Englishman, but he's South African.
Bro, come on, what the fuck? That's not cool, bro. Not cool. Not cool.
Oh dear, there'll be trouble for that. Okay, yes, he is South African. Yeah, we've got two South Africans here. We got a South African behind the desk on production as well. What part of South Africa are you from, Adrian? Somerset West.
West. Wow.
Okay. Representing. Okay, and finally, this from Wayne Davis. Nick's hair looks great from North Korea.
Right.
Is that?
He's from North Korea. My hair looks like it's great from North. I don't think I've seen many blondes in North Korea. I don't know if they have hair in North Korea.
Nick's North Korean hair.
I'm pretty certain I'll be put behind a gun and shot in North Korea if I look like a blonde in North Korea. It's like he's not North Korean.
It's an esoteric comment, Wayne. We're still trying to figure it out here, but we love it. So thanks. And thank you, everyone, for watching, for commenting, for liking. And oh yes, happy birthday to Virat Kohli tomorrow.
We probably made his day, man. He's been waiting for this time all the time. It's like, guy from Coin Bureau wished me happiness. Happy birthday. Forget the hundreds of runs.
He was watching. He was like, quick, come in here. Come in, look. This is even better than
Forget the US election. Guy wished me happy birthday.
This is even better than the 253 I scored against England in Mumbai in 2016.
For half of our viewers, they would not know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah, I think we're losing them. All right, folks. Well, and yes, thank you, Virat Kohli, if you're watching. So great to see you guys. Hold on tight this week. It's gonna be a wild ride. If in doubt, zoom out and maybe do nothing. But yeah, follow it. We will be back to report on everything that's been going on next week as usual. And of course, we've got lots more videos coming your way, including that Chainlink Pyth network
Petra upgrade
comparison, Petra upgrade. But it's so much. So thank you for watching. See you again.
Keep
very
calm
soon.
and hodl on. Cheers, guys.
Cherry. Nothing fancy, short, things let me short, nothing fancy, short, things let me short. Jeans or shorts today, wish we could bet on that. BTC at 69, and Nick still refuses to wear jeans. Nothing